We're joined now by Republican presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. He's the front runner, and watch out, he's on his home turf.
Yes,
he's in a place where they don't talk funny no more. Governor Huckabee, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Joe. Hello, Mika. Welcome to Myrtle Beach.
Wow. I'll tell you what, hey.
Thank you, Governor.
So things are going extraordinarily well for you right now. You're in first place in the national polls. You're in first place in South Carolina. You're in first place in a lot of Florida polls. Tell me, how do you use the wind behind your back to make sure that when you get to Super Tuesday, you're the guy that gets away with the most delegates?
Well, I think it's a matter of just staying with what got us here, and that's been a message of optimism, talking about what's right with America, but how we need to fix the things that are broken, not being so partisan. People are so sick of that, and what they see in me is a guy who's had the experience of a governor, where I didn't have the luxury of being an ideologue or a harsh partisan, but rather talking about, here are the problems, let's look at them, and here's how we're going to fix them. And that's what people are looking for. And I think in our party, the Republicans, they're especially looking for somebody who is talking about the policies that will touch everyone in America, even folks that are just barely making a living. My message has resonated with folks. I mean, when I walk through the hotel doors, it's the guy who's checking in the bags, the person that even taking care of the floors, that comes up to me, shakes my hand, and says, "I'm going to vote for you." And that to me is what our Republican Party ought to be about. It's everybody up and down the economic spectrum realizing that lower taxes, less government is good not just for folks at the top, it's good for folks everywhere.
Well, you know, it's really taken off nationwide, not only from South Carolina, but also out to California. Willie Geist is here with us. He went on a West Coast cougar hunting trip, and he said that he saw Huckabee signs. Didn't you, Willie? You saw Huckabee signs all throughout Southern California.
Governor, I'm driving around West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, not exactly the places where you'd expect to find your core support, and there are Huckabee for president signs in yard after yard. I was actually shocked by it, but it speaks to your appeal.
Well, and another thing, Willie, people are finding out, those yard signs improve property values substantially. So a lot of people in the subprime market have put those signs in their yard, and it just helps their housing prices go up.
I remember 6 months ago, Governor, finding out that you had raised $1 million in total. I rolled my eyes. I said, my gosh, this guy's great. He's a great talker, but you got to have $50, $100 million to win these races. You've proven that to be wrong, but are you finding now that the front runners are starting to write checks for you and that you're going to have money to actually run a media campaign on Super Tuesday?
Well, yeah, you know, in fact, our campaign, we're on the air in Michigan, we're on the air in South Carolina. One of my opponents went dark in South Carolina and in Florida yesterday.
You're talking about Mitt Romney there, right?
Do you have enough money? Right, and I think that surprised, it shocked a lot of people in South Carolina. He's putting all of his resources in Michigan, and I understand that. But we're playing for all these states, and I think one of the things that people forget, I keep hearing, gosh, well, you don't have as much money. I told some folks, if I had as much money as they did, as many staffers, as many consultants, had as many focus groups and polls, if we'd had as many television commercials, I might be as far behind as they are.
Well, and if I could just make a point, too, how fascinating that John McCain, when he had all the money, he had all the consultants, he had 100 people on staff, was doing horribly. After he ran out of money, started flying coach, suddenly took off. There's something to be said, isn't there, for running a lean, mean, hungry campaign like you've been doing?
Well, people want their federal government run like we run our campaign, very frugally. They know that if we spend an extraordinary amount of money and act like there's no limit to what we can spend in a campaign, that's probably how we'll approach government spending. And the last thing that people in this country want is someone who feels like that the taxpayers give them carte blanche to write whatever amount on the check they can. That's what's wrong with, frankly, the Republicans right now. There's been this sense that Republicans spent money just as bad, if not worse, than Democrats. That's why Americans, I don't believe, are so interested in, are you a Democrat or Republican? They want to know, are you responsible? Are you authentic? Can we count on you to be consistent? And if the answer is no, then I don't care what party you are. Yeah. They're just saying, we'll keep shopping.
We're certainly hearing stories on the road of people crossing party lines this time around. Now, Governor, you're calling South Carolina a turning point for your campaign, and I'm pretty sure the folks at the Giuliani campaign consider Florida a turning point for their campaign. So in terms of fundraising, my question to you, sir, is do you think you'll have the money and the momentum to take on Giuliani in Florida, and will you keep to your commitment to not going negative?
Well, we've gotten this far by just staying positive, talking about what we're for, not what we're against. People across America, not just in Iowa, I want to make that clear, but across America have rewarded us because they do want somebody to lead the country, not to just look to the side and behind and try to disable everybody else who's running for president. The people who have gone negative have not done as well as people thought they would. Their negative, nasty attack ads have backfired. Let's hope that this is the beginning of a new day in politics. Well, I'll just, as the old saying goes, in the South, you say if you throw a rock over the fence, it's the hit dog who hollers.
Oh, man, he's good.
He's got the dog analogies down.
And he's got his cup of Joe.
He does have his cup of Joe. He brought his cup of Joe for Morning Joe. There you go.